grappling with the second defendant, who is Anyanwu, as the national secretary of the first defendant, pending the determination of the substantive suit. End of quote. Now, as well as an order to interlocutory injunction restraining the second defendant from parading or acting as the national secretary of the first defendant pending the determination of the substantive suit. End of quote. Now, after he heard the motion, Justice Adamu held that the application succeeded. Now, I quote again, that an order of interlocutory injunction is hereby granted restraining the first defendant or respondent from recognizing, accepting, or dealing with the second defendant as the national secretary of the first defendant pending the determination of the substantive suit. Now, that an order of interlocutory injunction is hereby granted restraining the second defendant and respondent from parading himself or acting as the national secretary of the first defendant pending the determination of the substantive suit, Justice Adamu held. Now, he subsequently adjourned the further hearings on the substantive suit until January 24, 2024. Now, here you have it. Senator Anyanwu just contested in Imo, and according to the INEC, has just lost. And here you have it again. The courts have removed him using legal proceedings as a substantive senior officer of the ruling People's Democratic Party. Double jeopardy, a lot of you would think. All right, moving to the next development. Appeal Court upholds Sanwo-Olu's election as Lagos governor, and Hamzat, of course, the joint ticket. Now, a three-man panel of the election petition appeal sitting in Lagos have affirmed the re-election of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu and Kehinde Obafemi Hamzat as duly elected governor and deputy governors of Lagos State, respectively. Now, it unanimously affirmed that the decision of the Lagos State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which affirmed the victory of Sanwo-Olu on September 25, the three-man panel affirmed the duo's re-election after dismissing an appeal filed by the PDP and its candidate Olajide Adeniro, a.k.a. Jandor. Now, the panel dismissed the appeal for lacking in merit. As of the time of filing this report, the panel is reading the judgment on the appeal filed by Labour Party and its candidate Gbadebo. Now, Gbadebo Rhodes Vivo. It held that the appellants failed to prove the allegations of forgery and non-qualification against Sanwo-Olu and Hamzat. Even though they were all pre-election matters, the appellants, PDP and Adeniro, still failed to prove them. Now, the appellants came empty-handed and left empty-handed. They merely enjoyed their day in court. Their petition is dismissed. And that was how the whole thing ended. So here you have it. Sanwo-Olu and Obafemi Hamzat are substantive executive governors and deputy governors of Lagos State as upheld by the appeal court. And a lot of people will say, the election was closely followed by the Labour Party candidate. But here you have the PDP candidate at the forefront of putting all the cases in court. But he has finally received his judgment now, and he better bow and congratulate the winner of the election, and let the governing of the entire Lagos State be a shared responsibility to all the contestants there are. All right, we'll go on a short break now. Thereafter, we'll be introducing our guests, and then we'll still be having a conversation on the series of the implications of the NLC strike, just suspended NLC strike, and also the last off-cycle elections. Join us again.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, Advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air frequency 12733. Visit our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Many thanks for staying tuned, and if you're just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. Okay, real quick, we'll introduce our guest. It's going to be his second time joining us on the show. He'll be joining us virtually from the oil-rich city of Warri, and he is going to be putting light to our major discussions today. Let me introduce to you Comrade Edewo Ogidengbe, who is a human capital development practitioner, Executive Director, Value Rebate Center, Director of Studies, Value Rebate Center, LSD, that's Leadership School, Delta Center, and Coordinator, Transition Monitoring Group, Delta, Delta State Steering Committee, member, Side-by-Side Movement for Gender Justice, South-South Zone BOT Chairman, Citizens' Rights Concern Enhancement Initiative, otherwise known as the Human Rights Protection Congress. Comrade Edewo Ogedegbe, you're welcome on the show. Your CV is a very long one. That's why most times I don't attempt to read them. Good morning to you, sir. Nice to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right. I don't know. We've been having a series on the two major burning issues at our nation's polity. First being an evaluation and reassessment of the current off-cycle elections in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa, using them as hypothetical illustrations and what are the implications. Are we going forward or backward? And then the second major issue has been the back and forth between the NLC and federal government, NLC, and the subnational Imo State governor. And as at yesterday night, we had the information that they finally suspended the strike and they've ordered everybody to get back to work. So those are the two major things we're going to be discussing. So let's start with the NLC strike actions that has just been suspended. Do you think that the entire action was justified? Do you think NLC was justified to have gone through that route? You know the whole story. Let's not go around the whole story again. But yeah. What's your own opinion about the NLC? Do you think they were justified?
Yes, for me, they were justified. Justified in the sense that, I've come to discover in the political elites in this country since 1999 to date, they have impunity in running the affairs of states. And that to me is very worrisome. Now, when we say rights begat rights. The constitution of this country is what conferred those powers on the executive. And that same constitution conferred the same power of the citizenry on citizens of this country. So why do you think that because you are in the office today, you can take every other citizen for a ride? The answer is no. Which is why I said first, the strike action occasioned by the NLC and TUC is a justified one to prove a point. And don't also forget, until the strike was embarked upon 2 days ago, we didn't hear since 1st of November, where that attack took place, till just a day after the strike began, we didn't hear those culprits were arrested all along. Even when the Inspector General of Police came on to say that, oh yes, on the claim on the request of NLC that the CP is going to be transferred, but that does not amount to an indictment on the CP. It was transferred. But the culprits who caused that, assault on the NLC president, nothing was heard about those people who perpetrated that act. The question you will ask is, so were those people ghosts as at the time the act took place? The answer is no. So it caused so much, apprehension in the entire system. For me, that is on that basis. If to call a strike for somebody to be punished for wrongdoing, then it is worth it to that extent. Now, but there are so many angles to this same issue. Okay. But for the simple fact that some people could pounce on the NLC president for carrying out his legitimate, or picketing whoever has gone contrary to the rules of engagement and to the rules of, as a governor of a state not doing what he ought to have done, and with series of such meetings held without compliance, for me, is a wake-up call. And it calls on, those in the political and, of course, public offices today not to think that they have the monopoly of power. It is the constitution of the country that conferred them those offices today.
Interesting,
so,
comrade.
For them to undermine the other citizens because they are...
I don't mean to interrupt you, comrade, but this is interesting because you happen to be one of very few people who is holding this opinion as a valid opinion. Because even on yesterday's edition, when I had my guest, also a member of civil society in Delta State, but located in Asaba, and there were arguments that what was the reason why Ajero went to Imo in the first place, that it had political undertone, that why would he be using his office to further a political interest? But I'm surprised now that you are more concerned about the human rights violation of Ajero rather than these conspiracy theories that a lot of people, preponderance of a lot of pundits have been bandied, around. How would you react to that?
Yes. No, for me, that's a thing. The perception, it depends on the way you are looking at it from. I am looking at it from the point of equality before the law and good governance. Good governance forbids all of those, primordial sentiment that people attach. And of course, the government will always want to paint a picture that the people should take home and go and sleep. I detest that. I am saying that, look, if there were infractions before now, and you were supposed to be responsive, and you were not, and Labour decided to picket you for that, is that enough for you to pounce on the NLC president? The answer is no. And I've also said in another platform that, look, for those managers of that system, particularly the police manage that system, they didn't manage it well. When people are protesting without arms, they are just free, just expressing their displeasure over a system. You don't need to use maximum power, maximum force. So all of this is overzealousness and is exposing them day by day, and we need to talk about it. As I speak to you, there is an onslaught in Delta State. I can tell you categorically on air that a community has been besieged by the military. I'm saying this on air. By the military, the governor wants to forcefully, impose a king on a kingdom. The women are reacting. They are reacting to it. And these military drums are already in the community as I speak to you this morning. Only God knows what will become the outcome today.
Okay, but feel free to share
because
the information.
The man is the governor. And he decides he can deploy.
Feel free to give us more details about the information.
Hello, please.
Yes. Feel free to give us more specifics about the information.
I will give you as you call for it.
All right. Go on.
Yes. So it is to that extent I'm saying the recklessness of those in power should be curtailed. We are Nigerians, for crying out loud. The right to my dignity should not be trampled upon because somebody is seated in a governorship office. It shouldn't be. We should not be. We are not a banana republic that people wake up from any side of the day, their side, then they begin to pounce on people in a democratic system. This is not a military government. As it is now, this is to 11. There is so much apprehension. Women are brutalized this morning. I'm waiting for the pictures to come to me so I can also share them with you. So It's not, I'm not just saying this because anything that try to to dehumanize the human system and erode the dignity of the human person, we challenge it. Particularly sitting on the chair of the board of trustees of the Citizens Right Concern Enhancement Initiative, otherwise known as Human Rights Protection Congress.
Yeah.
We found every act that tried to undermine the right of every citizen, no matter how minute, and I stand to condemn it. If there are undertones, yes, they could be looked at, but that does not amount to, the kind of step that they did now that brought that brutalization to the NLC president.
All right. Your angle is a very, very interesting angle because I remember I also held the fact that human rights violation is a very serious issue. And then you see a lot of people say that it is justified because he's not supposed to use his office and his means and ways to further political interest, and that when you do that, these are the things that happen. But hey, we know the Chinasa guy is a direct aid to the governor of Imo State. So the governor of Imo State coming up to say that he is not aware that Ajero came to Imo, he wasn't told, and he didn't know he was brutalized until he was informed and was using the platform to apologize, becomes very confusing. Because I do not think that Chinasa, even in the absence of the governor, will take such initiative to drive with a team of policemen and armed people into the premises of the being suspended, which means that both people have come to some kind of agreement. So maybe the NLC president has decided to lay it to rest, but ideally, if it were someone else, these things will be trashed, using the instrumentalities of the law. But I quite appreciate your position from the human rights angle. Let me quickly ask another question. You are a member of civil society, and by size, we know the NLC is about the largest body of civil society advocating for the welfare of the Nigerian labor worker. Is it illegal to be a labor leader and also to be a member of a political party? Because those were also the accusations on why they think Ajero deserved the way he was treated. I want you to respond to that.
Okay, for me, that's about the choice of the individual. Of course, it will be viewed from different perspectives that becoming a labor leader and a partisan politician could cast aspersion on the integrity of the leader. No doubt about that, because of the contest, the Nigerian contest of politics, where people hardly can separate themselves from partisanship and politics, especially people who should, particularly even in the civil society and other different, shades of life in the country. Our partisanship, tend to erode our professionalism most times, and it's really worrisome. So for those who hold that view, I don't have a problem with that. But I am concerned. What we do is not as important as to how we do it.
Okay.
People should be able to be forthright to a level that, yes, people, they can turn up for them. But in this instant case of the Ajero, for him from Imo State, and it's alleged that he's also a Labour Party member, I do not know. I don't want to speak to that because I'm not Ajero. Until Ajero comes up to also now say, oh, I'm a Labour Party member, and people can now begin to cast aspersion on him. That you see somebody in the midst of people, Labour Party campaigning at one point, you now use that to relating to a Labour Party. If that is what they are also basing their own assertion on, I have a question with that as well. And I also know too that the political elite in this country, they can twist story to suit their own, side, and always, placate the public with those kind of, narrative. And because we also have a very hasty public that do not do due diligence to even unraveling the circumstances behind the issue before they go running, it becomes worrisome as well. For instance, as a journalist, you are doing due diligence. Before you came on air on this, you've done your research, and you look at it from both sides. And that's why you are trusting your question up. That is what should be before, final decisions are made. I listened to the Commissioner for Information of Imo State this morning, went on Channel's television, and I saw the way he was struggling to even, answer those questions. It shows that there is a disconnect between the reality and what he's trying to tell the public. To project. For me, it's worrisome. So I'm using every opportunity I have to tell the Nigerian populace that the gullibility of the populace is not helping the political, equation in this country. When something is happening in a place, don't wait until it happens to you, because truly you might be the next person. Injury to one is injury to all. True. That's our slogan. So when we just sit down docile because it's not close to us, it's happening to somebody afar, and you're not speaking, don't be surprised. You may be the next victim. So when we see things that are not right in society, let's condemn them objectively. If you do well, I'll praise you to high heaven. But if you are fall short of the law, I won't fail to shame you, because it is the right that I have. It is within my right, within me, for the choice of the person. If he chooses to do so and is able to maintain his integrity, why not? But if he chooses to abstain and also stay to his, professional call of labor, why not? It's also accepted. But it depends on it. For me, no matter where I stand, I will stick true to power anywhere. That's for me. But I don't know of the other individual. He will speak for himself. So interesting. Let nobody crucify Ajero. There are so many unfulfilled promises of the government, either at the center, either at the subnational, that are not in the front burner. The only area I have, challenge with Ajero and his own operational style is that there are so many national issues that they should have been, singing about, and it's not been so doing. That's the only area I have issues. For instance, the excruciating pain Nigerians are going with today, daily, should be a front runner for labor movement. Today, okay, of course, they've got the strike off, which is also reasonable in the considering the hardship, the location, the system that we are in today. So now that it's been called off, what is next on the table?
And that leads me.
I also listened to a senior comrade.
Okay, go on.
Adam Soshomole yesterday.
Go on.
And he pointed a lot of flaws, and I agree with him largely because one, why people are also tongue-lashing Ajero is because you've gone to Imo because you are from Imo. That's on the one side. Then some people are also linking you to Labour Party. Those same things that are happening in Imo for which you are shouting now, they are happening almost in all the states that have not complied with the minimum wage, that have not even complied with the new agreement the federal government has signed up to of the 35% wage. Minimum wage should also be added to the 30,000 naira, making it a 65,000. Why not put that on the front burner so that many Nigerians will see you and sing hallelujah for you?
Okay, comrade, you barely took that portion of the discussion from my mouth, because I wanted to proceed by saying, okay, let's leave the contraption, the personal contraption of Ajero versus the executive governor of Imo, and come to the major bane, which is the strike. And initially, when the NLC-TUC organized labor started all the agitations for strike, the objective was to make sure that the discomforts and the challenges and the problems facing the average Nigerian worker and by extension the Nigerian citizen is alleviated, and that is why they want to force government to do something. Now the strike has been suspended, just like you raised the issue concerning the comments and the criticisms from Senator Adams Oshomole, laying a lot of things that he felt that the Labour leader should have concerned himself about. But the question I want to ask you before you elaborate is, did this strike action meet any objective at all? Or was it an exercise in mere futility, you know, just to further deepen Nigerians into poverty, discomfort, and impoverishment?
No, to me, it meets, you know, its objective reasonably. I said so because within 48 hours, the National Security Advisor, credit to him, saw a need. The president is not in the country while this was happening, but the National Security Advisor saw, you know, the danger that the strike poses to the economy and the social well-being of citizens of this country. And he called on the leadership of the NLC to have, you know, a meeting, and that happened yesterday. And in that meeting, he was able to make it clear that, oh, efforts have been made, because the grounds for NLC going on strike for their own is that this man had been brutalized for a week. He's gone. We didn't hear any arrest. We didn't hear anything. Then, okay, so he's going to just go like that.
Okay, so that
why?
Okay, so that
this
is
a
just
call for us to go on
so
strike.
comrade. So that is just the only advantage you've seen. I don't know whether my producer can hear me. Please, NLC listed 6 major demands. I want my producer to put it on the screen. Let us look at those demands, and then we'll draw it, you know, pari passu with what we have on ground. The first one is, they said, arrest and prosecute Chinasa Nwaneri. We all know is a special aide or special advisor to the Imo State governor on special duties. We know what governors use the office of special duties to do, you know. You know, the second one is that all police officers involved in the attack on the Labour leader should also be arrested. Then the third one is arrest and prosecution of all the thugs that attacked the NLC president. So they were police officers and they were also thugs. Then the fourth one is arrest, prosecute, and dismissal of the chief security officer in the Imo government house. Then arrest and prosecute and dismissal of unnamed police area commander it claimed oversaw the brutalization of the NLC president. Then the sixth one is the Ahmed Bade, former commissioner of police in Imo State, be investigated and prosecuted for his alleged involvement in the assault. But he has been transferred. So let's say the first column and the sixth column, government has done something about it. So would you say this is a pass mark, comrade?
No, for me,
on the part
it's
of
reasonable.
NLC, anyway.
Is that
on the part of NLC.
Yes, for me, yes. Yes. I say yes because it shows that they didn't just back. There is a bite here already. And I also believe that from the meeting, because the full content of the outcome of their meeting was not well disclosed, I want to believe that the reason for them to now decide to call it a halt is that having heard that, oh, the culprits have been arrested, and of course, the commissioner of police was redeployed almost immediately to the FCT, to the force headquarters. Then, of course, it then means that there will be a process of prosecution. So what that would lead me to say would be that they should not rest on their oars and hold the National Security Advisor to his word and ensure that those people are thoroughly investigated. I am going to also relate to you because we have a similar case here in my own place that I've just mentioned to you now.
Yes.
Where somebody was killed.
This happened in Warri, Delta State, or Asaba? Did this happen in Warri or Asaba in Delta State?
Yes, in a Wuki, in Ugele South local government.
Okay, Ugele South. Okay.
And petitions of Delta State, Delta Central. So now arrest, not even a single arrest has been made. And petitions has gone as far as to the IGP. So it tells you how you want to even believe that when police come to tell you some certain things, you want to go and sleep. You can't sleep. You can't sleep. When petitions are before authorities, you don't hear anything. So it's worrisome. And they are quick to come to the public to want to make public believe what they are saying. The answer is no. Nigerian democracy should evolve so that some of those primitive things that we did in the past should not find their way into the new era that we find ourselves. When those in authority say the people should bear one hardship here and there, and they are not bearing those hardships, it's worrisome. I'm using this of medium to also reach out to those in authority. Power is transient. Nobody rules forever.
True.
So people should treat people with dignity. That's where I stand. I don't want to be interested in, who is right, who is wrong. But in carrying out your duty, in carrying out your responsibility, you must be humane to the extent that meets best practices. Anything short of that will be condemned from the Human Rights, Protection Congress, and from all well-meaning angle in this country. Such acts stand condemned.
Well articulated. Now, finally on Ajero, before we move to the assessment of the off-cycle elections. Now, I like the fact that you also have read, or you have watched, or you've heard about the former NLC president criticizing his junior because he claimed, Adams also claimed that he supported Ajero for personal reasons and all that. Now, the question I want to ask you is, in the 8 months or 9 months or thereabout that Ajero has been substantive, constitutional, legal NLC president after Ayuba Waba, because I could remember very early this year, Ayuba Waba was still the NLC president. Would you say, in the context of the arguments of the past NLC president, Adams Oshomole, would you say that Ajero has had a 9-month run that is fair or that is good enough as an NLC president? Of course, we know there are some gray areas he ought to have touched, but would you give him a pass mark, and why?
Well, in fairness to him, I think he has done averagely, to my mind. Okay. One, there is something I like in Ajero, his courage to engage. I respect his courage. He needs to bring in more tact, if you ask me. You need to bring in more tact and strategies, best strategies to his operation. But for courage, he's there. He's one of those few guys that can stand his own anywhere, anytime. And to that extent, yes, I'll give him an average for the 9 months he has been in his team. And he will also learn from some of these his actions that people are, of course, attributing misgivings to. Life, we learn every day, and we improve every day. So he will also listen to the comments of Nigerians on his conduct thus far and make amends where necessary. But he should be given all the support, because without NLC, it then means everything will just go awry, and nobody wants to entertain that in a democracy that should be maturing now. At 24, Nigerians still use the word fleshy democracy. 24 is full grown. Yeah, so I think that our activities should reflect our age of unbroken democracy, within the annals of democracies.
All right, we've been speaking to Comrade Adewo Ogedengbe, and we will continue. We'll go on a short break now. We're due for a short break. Comrade, please stay tuned. We'll go on a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back, and then we'll follow up with your assessment, or the general assessment of the off-cycle elections. Join us again.
This victory would not have been possible without the mighty hand and grace of the Almighty God and the overwhelming support you have shown towards me, my Deputy Governor, and indeed the Prosperity Government. I am deeply humbled by your overwhelming expression of confidence, by your mandate to serve you for another 4 years. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to everyone who cast your vote in my favor and in our favor, and has entrusted me with the responsibility of leading our beloved state again. I am also immensely grateful to the leadership of our great party, the People's Democratic Party, at all levels, and our dedicated campaign team, ably led by a member of the National Assembly representing Ogbia Federal Constituency in the Nigerian House of Representatives, Chief Maitama Honorable Obodo, who worked tirelessly to spread our message of progress and unity throughout Bayelsa State. Your unwavering belief in our vision for prosperity and your relentless efforts have brought us this sweet victory. However, I urge you all to celebrate with temperance, as this victory is not the exclusive preserve of any one political party. Rather, it is the collective will of the people of Bayelsa State, united towards progress and a better future for our state. Even those who cast their votes
All right, welcome back, and many thanks for staying tuned. I still have with me Comrade Edewo Ogedengbe, a dogged member of civil society, Board of Trustees Chairman, Human Rights Protection Congress, amongst a long CV, a long list of CVs. Comrade, are you still there with us?
Good morning.
Yes, welcome back. All right, this is the segment where we get to discuss about the off-cycle elections, the assessment, the implications on our nation's democracy. Are we moving forward? Are we moving backward? But let me start with the general question I often ask any of my resource persons. So generally speaking, will you say our elections in Nigeria have moved a bit on the path of progress as regards the process of conducting our elections, or have we rescinded yet again? I don't want it to be monosyllabic. I want you to explain, your reasons. But do you think we've moved forward, or do you think we've moved backward? You know the whole story.
Yes, my first response is yes. We've made some progress, but are we where we should be, considering the length of years we have put into democratic practice? The answer is no. But we have made some progress, no doubt, particularly with the Electoral Act 2022 that brought in a number of innovations. But again, it would be too early to make a final statement on even the benefits of the Electoral Act 2022 until all the matters at the tribunals and appeals and Supreme Court are dispensed of with. It is at that point I'll be very categorical in the choice of my own analysis on the subject matter.
Okay, comrade. Sorry to interrupt you. The conduct and process of the election, for the purpose of this discussion, shouldn't really be connected to the judgments in court. We are looking at the process, the conduct, everything that is associated with the activities on Saturday. And let's even use Saturday, November 11th, as a milestone. You know, when you are traveling, you pass, you see places where they write 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. Have we progressed or have we retrogressed from your general assessment, and why? Of course, I understand you're having to wait for court decisions to be able to make up your mind, but the process and the conduct, the INEC, the security institutions, and all the stakeholders. I know you have been involved seriously in voter education in Delta State, and you've worked with a lot of international NGOs on making the process of elections better. That's why I'm throwing the question to you, because I've listened to a lot of your interviews, and I've watched a lot of your videos, on advocacy and enhancing voter information to people within your region. So, do you think we have progressed or retrogressed, and why?
Okay, a bit of progress.
Okay.
A bit of progress, I would say, because I like being objective in my assessment of issues, because that's what will bring the best of the system. A bit of progress. Now, looking at the off-cycle election for the Bayelsa, Imo, and the Kogi State, there's something that is apt. For instance, materials arrived on time, better than the general election that was held in February and March this year. So for me, that's a progress. Then, of course, deployment of security was also a bit much better than it were in the last election. And it's also not all connected with the fact that it's an off-cycle election, so there is enough manpower to, be deployed. And they were so deployed. Those were some, a progress. But on the conduct of, INEC and its ad hoc staff, and of course, even the personnel, the security personnel that were deployed, how do they conduct themselves? Do they conduct themselves better than it used to be? I do not want to say that they conducted themselves better. It's also the same thing. Because we hear, allegations of people buying votes and security agencies looking the other way. So that has been the practice. And of course, we also saw on INEC personnel where forms from EC8A were already filled, 8B or so, were already filled with result when election has not even started. So all of those are some of the concerns that Nigerians are raising, that why do we continue to do the same things the same way? So who on earth fill that form? A form that is supposed to be blank at the point of bringing it to the PU. Now it's been filled. You saw that when that guy was accosted, when he was asked, so who filled this thing? He was mopping. Will he now tell Nigerians that he didn't see that result, that page filled already at the point of collecting it? If he didn't see, then it's naive. So he should go in for it. So I am saying that I don't do well here, for crying out loud. We can also do well here. When Nigerians leave the shores of this country, they are perfect people there. So something is fundamentally wrong with us, that people became naive, choose to be naive, for reasons I don't know. That you cannot ask questions where you should ask questions. People say, if you ask questions, you will die. And see the best that comes out of it. So to my mind, there's some fairness in terms of improvement, but it is not commensurable to what I personally expect that we should have been in terms of off-cycle elections and even our elections proper.
Okay.
Then another thing, of course, that one can also speak to is the fact that, yes, there were no much casualty recorded, unlike before, particularly the states that are involved in this off-cycle governorship election. They are critical states that have had, a testimony of, killings and maiming during the electionary period. But this time, it was very mild, very, very minimal. So all of that, you can give it to give it to that is a slight improvement on the period.
Okay, well articulated. All right, let me cast your mind back to is it few weeks or few days before the November 11th? There was news going round. Some civil societies, Yaga, and I think I can't remember the name of the civil society also. Then raised an alarm that the presidency and the Senate just approved the appointments of very senior INEC officials. I can't remember whether they're national commissioners or recs at this very point. And those senior officials, about 3 or 4 of them, it has been proven that they were active members of one of the political parties before. Now still within the argument of whether we are strengthening our institutions or improving the process or deepening the process, how would you view that? Yes, comrade, are you still with me? Okay, we might be having a little bit of a connection issue, and we have started having conversations, just general assessment about the off-cycle elections. What is it that we will take home as a nation? Is this nation even learning anything? Are we consciously putting in standard procedures? All these questions are what Comrade Dewo Ogedengbe is trying to help shed more light to, so that we'll not only be informed, we'll be educated, and our minds will be more emancipated to really see this from the right perspectives with which we can see them. We'll go on a short break and try and see whether we can fix that technical issue and then get back on the conversation. We still have some few minutes to go on the show. We'll be right back. Join us again.
For brilliant broadcasts and entertainment, sports on the go, and news around the world, watch Spectrum TV on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and free-to-air spectrumtvlive.ng. Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for staying tuned. Apologies for that slight technical hitch. I understand that Comrade Edewo Ogedengbe is back, connected to us from the oil-rich city of Warri. So, Comrade, like we were discussing, I said still in the line of assessing processes and the way we conduct elections. Recall that about a week or thereabout, about 10 days before the elections, some civil society members came out, accused the presidency and the Senate for approving some known members of of a certain political party into the senior offices of INEC. I can't remember whether it's INEC Rec now or the national commissioners. And the civil society guys also accused the other opposing political parties who were supposed to be the figureheads of opposition in the country, not saying anything about the appointment and approval of political party members, partisan political party members into, senior offices in INEC. How would you assess that, still within the ambit of assessing our process and conduct and the institution itself?
Okay, for me, if it is clearly established that those people are members of political party, then it's unacceptable under any guise. It's unacceptable. And that also will lead me to suggesting that I've always said that the appointment of INEC chairman and commissioners should not be in the purview of the executive at any point in time. It should be, a process that people will apply. They will be screened. Let the people pre-qualify. Not this one that any name that is sent to the National Assembly after the undercurrent that we follow, the people will bow and go. And at the end of the day, we keep reacting. In a country that is so blessed with human capital and all other resources, to now be...
Last question. So if we are going to reduce that trend of political civil societies, who are we going to task with that responsibility to work towards, either reducing or eradicating it? Or is nobody going to do anything about it? Will it continue to fester and increase? Because we know that the politicians, with all due respect to them, have a way of, capturing institutions, especially when those institutions add so much value, still in the language and the context of democracy. Is there anybody that can do anything to reduce that rampant practice?
No, first, it has to be on the doorstep of the practitioners themselves, who know the core value of the civil society practitioner. To be on the pro in terms of advocacy and sensitization to all that matters, particularly within the civil society space. Let there be some further level of education on the values, the morals that the civil society practitioner should put on. That should be ceaseless. It should be a continuum that people will wake up and begin to discover that, they are doing the wrong thing. They need to now, do the right thing. That conscientization must continue. That's one way. Then two, we also need to call on the government to also, repent of some of those their antics that they use is siphoning the space that civil society have by, creating elements that try to shrink the space for citizenry. For instance, some will tell you that, you even have people who are appointed as, senior special assistant to governors on civil society, IT practitioner comes with. Many of them don't know. And because they are already in